Keir Starmer walked onto the world stage expecting respect and walked off completely exposed after the U.S. shut him down in front of everyone. Welcome to Power and Policy UK, where politics, power, and global influence collide. Let's get into it. The global spotlight turned uncomfortably bright this week as Keir Starmer found himself in a moment that critics are already calling one of the most embarrassing episodes of his leadership so far. What was meant to be a display of diplomatic credibility instead became a brutal reminder of how unforgiving international politics can be when decisions are rushed, unclear, or out of step with major allies. Starmer entered the international arena promising seriousness, stability, and a reset of Britain's global standing. But during high-level discussions involving the United States, that image took a serious hit. U.S. officials, speaking with barely concealed frustration, appeared to distance themselves from Starmer's position, effectively undercutting him in front of the world. The message was simple and devastating. Washington was not impressed, not aligned, and not willing to play along. At the center of the controversy was Starmer's recent policy stance, a decision he framed as pragmatic and morally grounded. However, U.S. representatives reportedly viewed it as naive at best and reckless at worst. Instead of quiet diplomatic disagreements behind closed doors, the disagreement spilled into the open, with American officials openly contradicting Starmer's claims and signaling that the UK's position would not influence U.S. strategy in any meaningful way. For a leader who has worked hard to project competence and international respectability, this was a nightmare scenario. Body language, tone, and carefully chosen words all pointed to one thing: Starmer was being sidelined. Analysts noted that the U.S. response wasn't just disagreement, it was dismissal. And on the global stage, dismissal is humiliation. Back home, the fallout was immediate. Political opponents seized on the moment, arguing that Starmer's judgment cannot be trusted if he can't even maintain alignment with Britain's closest ally. Even some neutral commentators questioned how such a miscalculation was allowed to happen. If this was meant to show strong leadership, it achieved the opposite. Supporters of Starmer rushed to defend him, claiming that standing up to the U.S. shows independence and principle. But critics were quick to respond that there's a difference between independence and isolation. In global politics, perception matters, and the perception here was that Starmer overplayed his hand and paid the price in real time in front of an international audience. What makes this episode particularly damaging is its timing. With global tensions high and alliances more important than ever, any sign of weakness or confusion is magnified. The U.S. didn't just disagree with Starmer, it exposed the cracks in his strategy for everyone to see. Whether this moment becomes a footnote or a defining symbol of Starmer's leadership remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. On that stage, in that moment, the power imbalance was obvious, and the humiliation was real. For a man trying to convince the world he's ready to lead, this was a very public, very painful setback. You're watching Power and Policy UK. Subscribe for sharp analysis, real power moves, and the stories others won't tell.